There are places in Canada that look so peaceful, you'd never imagine anything dark hiding beneath the surface. Pine forests that stretch for miles, frozen lakes that glow blue under the moonlight. Small towns where doors stay unlocked and neighbors wave even in the dead of winter. But serenity has a way of fooling people. And in 2016, in the remote outskirts of northern Alberta, it fooled everyone. On January 14th, when the temperature had dropped to minus 27 degrees Celsius, 19-year-old Emily Carver vanished. Her family reported that she stepped outside for a short walk near the tree line behind their home and never came back. Her footprints in the snow led only a few meters before disappearing entirely, as if she had been lifted straight off the ground. Royal Canadian Mounted Police arrived within the hour, and the first to understand the weight of the situation was investigator Daniel Mercer. 25 years on the force, a man who had followed tracks in blizzards, knocked on cabin doors in the middle of the night, and seen the silence of the wilderness hide terrible things. But this case felt different the moment he stepped into the cold. Emily's tracks were crisp, perfectly formed, then suddenly gone. No sign of a struggle, no drag marks, no second set of footprints, just emptiness, which meant one thing. Someone had been waiting, and they'd been careful, very careful. As Mercer walked the perimeter, his flashlight caught something faint, small metal shavings scattered across the snow, almost invisible, shimmering like ice. A few feet away he found the edge of a tire mark, thin, narrow, the kind used on older model snowmobiles. The person who took Emily hadn't walked. They'd come from the forest. Fast. Silent. Emily's disappearance shattered the quiet of the town. People whispered in grocery stores. Mothers kept children inside. For the first time in decades, the community felt watched, as though the forest itself had eyes. 3 days passed with no sign of Emily. Search teams combed the woods, helicopters scanned the tree canopy, RCMP officers checked abandoned cabins used by illegal hunters in past years. Nothing. But then, on the fourth morning, a trapper named Hughes brought something to the station, something that made Mercer stop breathing for a moment. A torn piece of red fabric, frozen stiff, found snagged on a branch 15 kilometers north of where Emily disappeared. Mercer knew Emily had been wearing a red winter jacket that day. The location meant only one thing. Her abductor knew the woods like the back of his hand. Mercer expanded the search deeper into the forest, far from paths, roads, or anything resembling civilization. Then the dogs caught a scent, weak, fading, but real. They followed it to a patch of disturbed snow, and underneath it, something metallic. A latch, frozen shut. The officers shoveled frantically until the outline of a buried trapdoor appeared, covered with pine needles and ice. When they pried it open, a breath of cold, stale air rushed upward. A ladder dropped into darkness. Mercer descended first. What he saw would haunt him for the rest of his life. A cramped underground room lit by a single battery lantern. Old blankets, a metal chair bolted to the floor, chains attached to the legs, a thermos, a pile of canned food, and in the corner, fresh footprints. But no Emily. She had been here, recently, and whoever took her had moved her again. Mercer scanned the walls, scratches, lines carved with something sharp. He leaned closer and realized they formed the letters, crooked, shaky letters. E. M.
ill. Why? She had tried to mark her presence, tried to tell them she was alive. As officers documented the bunker, a new detail emerged. Boot prints leading out the opposite exit, climbing a narrow tunnel that opened into a thicket nearly invisible from above. The prints were large, heavy, and Mercer had seen that pattern before. Standard issue for a discontinued RCMP tactical boot, sold only at a few surplus stores across the country. This wasn't the work of a drifter. This was someone trained, someone who blended in, someone local. The investigation shifted to residents with wilderness experience, survivalist backgrounds, where disciplinary issues in the past. One name rose quickly: Caleb Rowan, a former volunteer search and rescue member who had disappeared from public life after being dismissed for behavioral instability. He lived alone in a remote cabin. No close family, no visitors. The RCMP approached quietly, expecting an empty home, but Mercer's instinct screamed the moment he saw the faint smoke curling from Rowan's chimney. The officers surrounded the cabin. No movement inside, no sound. Mercer took the lead and pushed the door open. The cabin was warm. Too warm. A kettle on the stove, still steaming. A chair pulled back as if someone had just left it. And on the table, a red zipper from Emily's jacket. But again, no Emily. No Rowan. He had moved her again, minutes before the officers arrived. Mercer stepped outside and scanned the tree line. Soft snow was falling, erasing tracks quickly. But Mercer noticed something the others didn't. A subtle shift in the branches above, like a shadow slipping through the dark. Rowan wasn't running on the ground. He was moving across the ridge, using fallen logs and raised terrain to hide his trail. A chase began through the frozen forest. Officers waded through deep snow, flashlights cutting through the dark. And then one of them saw it. A flicker of red behind a cluster of spruce trees. Emily. She was tied to a trunk, shaking, half-conscious but alive. Rowan burst from the shadows, a knife in hand, wild eyes flashing with a mix of fury and fear. But Mercer tackled him before he reached her. The struggle was brutal, desperate, primal, the forest echoing with gasps and the crunch of snow. Rowan fought with the strength of someone who had survived off the land for years, but Mercer held him down until the cuffs clicked shut. Emily was rushed to safety. Rowan was escorted into custody, eyes emotionless, lips silent. During questioning, he never explained why he chose Emily, never admitted the days he kept her underground, never revealed why he thought he could take someone from a town that trusted the forest too much. But Mercer knew the truth. Predators don't appear out of nowhere. They learn, they watch, and they wait for a moment when nobody suspects anything. Emily recovered, slowly, carefully, but the town never fully returns to the innocence it once had. Doors stayed locked, lights stayed on at night, and sometimes, walking near the forest's edge, people swore they could still feel the weight of the trees, watching.